we are, if we're not the largest MGA in the space, we are in the top three. So we will end this year a little over $4 billion.
You're listening to Beyond the Claim, the show for forward-thinking risk and claims professionals curious about the latest industry trends, winning strategies, and stories from influential leaders. Let's dive in.
Today I have with me Brad Isaacson from Amynta Group. Brad, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it quite a bit. So full disclosure to the audience, Brad has been completely helpful and accessible in Broadspire's journey to expand ourselves in the MGA and alternative market space. So wonderful to have him aboard here. But as we were organizing this conversation, Brad, I found myself in a place where I'm sure that there are many out there that are still getting comfortable with the captive program risk retention space, and then two, knowing as large and as diverse as Amynta Group is, possibly not knowing Amynta. So I figured in the opening we could take a step back and maybe you could help inform the audience more broadly on this space in general, and then more specifically Amynta Group.
Sure, absolutely. So a little bit about Amynta. We actually came out of an insurance carrier by the name of AmTrust. So when AmTrust was going private, one of the ways they looked at raising capital was to spin off what they called their fee business, which was their aggregation of third-party MGAs. So long story short, they did that. Private equity by the name of Madison Dearborn Partners bought a controlling interest, and that is Amynta today. So that was about 4 or 5 years ago. And fast forward to today, we are, if we're not the largest MGA in the space, we are in the top three. So we will end this year a little over $4 billion in controlled premiums. And we're constantly adding new entities. We're very active in the M&A space. We actually, Mark, I don't know if you saw this, but there was a press release today that we finalized the acquisition of Ambridge. So
congratulations.
That is a large MGA. That will actually be our largest internal business. That's a roughly $700 million in premium acquisition. A little over 400 we paid, and they are in the transactional space. They've been writing reps and warranties, contingency and tax, pretty much longer than anybody in the industry. So and it's a perfect fit for us in that we're always looking for industry leaders and outfits and individuals that are known in their space, and of course, Ambridge certainly is. So,
congratulations!
Put that in there. Certainly excited to have them part of Amynta.
That's a great addition to Amynta, and also great to see that you're in a position to add them. Absolutely.
So Amynta, as I mentioned, one of the largest MGAs in the U.S. We will end the year over $4 billion in premium. Three segments of business really comprise Amynta. We have a large warranty space, so anything that you can think of that is sold with a warranty, we sell. So a large portion of that's in the auto industry, OEMs, and the like. We have a large consumer warranty business as well. So that's roughly $700 million of our premium. We have a large specialty risk operation. You mentioned captives and risk retention groups. We own risk services down in Sarasota. That's headed by an individual by the name of Mike Rogers, and anybody in the alternative market space knows Mike. So he's been doing that his entire career, and they are, if they're not the largest captive manager in the U.S., they're in the top 2 or 3. So that's our specialty risk And then we have our traditional MGA space. So we have about 20 MGAs across the U.S., writing anything from contractors to micro business to aviation, a wide variety of specialty niche classes of business. We're constantly looking for new acquisitions, either from a organizational perspective, we're looking for talent in the industry, that individual or a team that may want to take their particular underwriting and distribution and process knowledge and develop their own deal. So we've done a number of those. And we've also been very successful in what we call carrier carve-outs. So it could be a carrier that is looking to divest themselves of a particular niche. Could be, workers' comp or professional liability or specific program that they either can't make profitable or just can't get it up to critical mass. And they'll carve that out and sell that to us. And then we could get a capacity commitment from that carrier, or we'll move that to one of our strategic partners. So certainly an interesting time to be at Amynta.
And Brad, I want to talk about some of the areas of specialization, but and I would come back to that. But before we go too far, this is not something that you typically see as a career path or journey, or that you hear in the media quite often, but it's a significant space that supports many of our businesses and industries. How did you personally come into this space?
So I got into insurance. My parents were in insurance, and I said that growing up I would do anything but insurance. So so there you go. But no, I graduated, got a job with Liberty Mutual, and started in there. This is in the late '80s, so I've been doing this a while, Mark. But started in their large risk division, and it was a good training ground back in the day. And after about 3 years there, I was looking at making a change, and I just happened to stumble across a company by the name of Fireman's Fund, who back in the day was a program expert. And this is late 80s, early 90s, when programs weren't really a thing. So Fireman's Fund had a division by the name of Famex, Famex, and it was basically their model was to get national association endorsements. So it could be National Tire and Wheel, a van line company or association, and they would partner with that association, build product for that association, and then distribute it through an exclusive network of independent agents. So that was kind of a unique model back in the day. Not a whole lot of carriers, like I said, were in the program space. So it was Fireman's Fund. CNA had what they called their CAM programs back in the day. So that's where I got my start in programs as an underwriter. Over the years, their model evolved, and I moved my way up through the organization. My last job there was as the Southeast VP of programs, and left there in 2005 and went to a small specialty company by the name of American Safety to run their program and alternative risk division. Spent 9 years there, went to another carrier by the name of AIX, which was part of the Hanover. And I was regional president. AIX was the program company for Hanover, still is. And I left there 3 years ago to come to Amynta. So long track record in the program space, been doing programs for over 30 years. I've probably put together over 100 programs in my career. And I've always been on the balance sheet or the P&L side of the house. And now I'm on the distribution and MGA side of the house. So it's a unique perspective, but it's the same business.
I appreciate that. Part of our mission here is to help plant the seeds and lay the breadcrumbs for the future generations that'll help to bring this space forward, and that want to bring more awareness wherever possible. But going back to your points on Amynta and the intentional, obviously, M&A activity and broader growth mission. It seems that Amynta is very confident and intentional about bringing in, as you mentioned, best-in-class and industry-leading programs, but not necessarily rebranding them into Amynta, right? And so, can you speak to that? And is there a reason behind that?
There is, yeah. So it's actually one of our selling points when we're out looking for talent and looking for new acquisitions. We buy entities and we bring on people for a reason. And in many cases, like Ambridge, in many cases, they are leaders of their particular segment of business. And there's a lot of brand awareness around their own brand. So we typically, on an established MGA, we tend not to rebrand them to Amynta. Now, if you've gone through our website and you see what we call our wheel, which is our listing of all of our MGAs, you will see some Amynta branded businesses within that. A majority of those are teams that we've brought on board, not entities that we've bought. So that's our overall philosophy of that. Some of our competitors don't have that philosophy. They'll buy somebody and one day and then the next day they're out changing the signs on the front of the building, right? We don't have that philosophy. We like I said, we're buying top tier organizations, top tier talent to bring them on board. We let them continue to do business as they see fit. And we're here as an organization to support them where they need support. It could be new capacity or helping them set up a new program. But again, it's their business to run.
So down that same vein, Amynta covers a broad spectrum of industries, broad spectrum of specific programs. But would you say that there is a target profile for your clients or customers that you feel you're best suited to fit? Maybe not by industry or program, but maybe by where they are in their corporate journey or what they're looking to achieve from a risk control perspective. Or are you open to any and all?
We're fairly open to any and all, to be honest with you. It tends to be more the decision of the seller, not the buyer, right? We certainly are looking, like I said before, we're looking for individuals, teams, talent, businesses that are top tier in their business. So if you ask what we're looking for, we're certainly looking for that. We do some bolt-ons, so it could be an existing business that we're currently in, and we see an organization that would fit and fold neatly into that. We've done some of that, but again, we're looking more for the opportunity to partner with a leader in whatever business they're in to bring into Amynta.
And how do you view, hardening market? Are you seeing that is influencing this space one way or another, or has it been business as usual for the most part?
Well, we're certainly seeing hardening in certain areas, and some certain areas we're not. So we do a good amount of workers' compensation business. That is still fairly soft, although we're starting to see some signs of small turning there. But we've seen rate decreases in the workers' comp line for the past 4 or 5 years now. but it continues to be a profitable segment of the business from an industry perspective. So that line is still somewhat soft. We have seen hardening in other areas, and some you see a little bit, and some areas have been hardening significantly. So some of the excess liability lines, certainly auto has been a line of business that has been, from a pricing perspective, has been hardening for the past, 4 or 5 years. So it's really a more of a line of business specific thing, or a class of business specific issue. So we do quite a bit in the aviation space, and we brought an individual on board about 1.5 years ago to build out hull and liability around our aviation business. And that is a segment of business that hardened significantly overnight. So it had softened and softened and softened. And then almost overnight, capacity left, rates went through the roof, and we saw a significant opportunity to enter the space at that point.
When you're looking at either programs from an M&A standpoint, or you go directly to the ultimate consumer, and you're looking to represent Amynta, are there any examples of success stories where you say, hey, this is where we've had an example of the impact that we're having on our clients, directly or indirectly via one of our programs, that you say really captures or encapsulates the Amynta Group mission or vision?
Yeah. So, but Mark, if I give you an example, all the other business units are going to get upset. So,
there.
Yeah. No. One that comes to mind, in all seriousness, is we own BTIS. It stands for Builders Tradesmen Insurance Services, and they're up until the Ambridge acquisition, our largest business unit. They're over $400 million in premium. Started 25 plus years ago by the two individuals that run it are brothers, Paul and Hank Holbein, that run BTIS. Their father started the business, and he came up with the idea. And you got to remember, this is 25, 30 years ago, when no one was talking this way. His overall philosophy, he was a retail agent. His overall philosophy was, look, the transaction between the agent and the company, or the agent and the MGA, is too difficult. We need to streamline that. We need to make it easier, especially on small business. So he brought some talent on board. They actually built out a rate, quote, bind, issue system, again, 25 years ago, with APIs directly into carrier feeds. So when they sign up an individual retail partner, that retail partner goes on their website. It's an insurance marketplace. It's got all their products listed. Agent can go in and, okay, I need a professional liability quote. I need a small business quote. I need a small workers' comp quote. They fill out the series of questions, the application for that particular entity. It feeds different companies and comes back with a number of quotes, and they can select the one that best suits their needs. So use of technology, they have created niches or programs where they can really drive value to the end client. And it is a marketing machine. They have, like I said, $400 million of business with 40,000 retail agents across the U.S. And heavy West Coast presence, and a tremendous opportunity to continue to grow and expand geographically and product-wise. So it's basically an InsurTech type platform and business before anybody was even talking about InsurTech.
I would say many aren't there still today, Brad, quite honestly. I mean, we're still talking that type of interface as an emerging technology for many. So yeah, that is impressive. I will definitely, and if nothing else, we've raised the bar for the other businesses to know what you are looking for as a success story. So good stuff there. I will.
But they're all great.
Last question. Yeah, exactly. They're all great. All great. Last question for you. So when you look at the market, are there any emerging trends or developments, in the field from a program standpoint that you're really focused on, either for opportunity or a point of risk that you feel, are going to impact the space for the near future?
Yeah, I think, well, you're seeing it. So, the program marketplace is growing double the insurance marketplace. So you're seeing more capacity, more players in our space. There's just a tremendous amount of opportunities. So, capacity has entered program business at a exponential rate in a number of different vehicles. So, and I think the most notable is fronting or hybrid carriers. And by that, I mean that you've got these non-traditional insurance companies that have come in. They provide the capacity, they provide the regulatory and filing support necessary to be successful in the business, take a minimal amount of risk, and then there's reinsurance support behind it. So, 10 years ago, there were one or two carriers kind of doing that and in that space. And today there's 30 plus. So there's been a tremendous influx, and as a result, increased capacity coming into it. And it's done a number of things, certainly from a capacity standpoint, that has increased, but it's also, there's more transparency in capacity now. So you have, panels of reinsurers now with relationships with hybrid companies, fronting companies, and relationships with MGAs. So there's just a lot more fluidity. And from our perspective, we see nothing but positives in that trend, and I think it will continue. There's certainly been I think there'll be somewhat of a culling out of some of these carriers who went aggressively into the program space, maybe bit off a little more than they could chew. There'll be some of that, but I think you're going to continue to see kind of that model going forward, and of movement towards capacity providers providing regulatory support, et cetera, and then partnering with third parties that really provide the expertise. And I'm not just talking about underwriting, it's underwriting and distribution and data management. We have a staff of actuaries at Amynta that we can provide value to our clients and our program partners. So that's been a recent trend, and again, I think it's going to continue. We're going to continue to see our business grow over the short and long term.
Brad, one follow-up question. So I did lie. You mentioned the shift or the growth in fronting companies and reinsurers. Why do you think? Is that access to capital didn't exist? Is that more awareness and the diversity of kind of risk diversification that's out there? Is there any reasoning behind that, or is it just the reality of the current state versus the past?
Yeah, I think. I think there was a lot of capital out there for one, right? So there was capital looking at how can we get into the insurance transaction business, but also they saw an opportunity to mirror up the back end to the front end. So the reinsurance capacity to this growing program marketplace. So again, there's just been a tremendous shift over the past 10 to 15 years.
Excellent. Ladies and gentlemen, Brad Isaacson. Brad, thank you so much. If there are potential prospective clients or programs looking to become part of the Amynta family, what's the best way for them to engage? That going to the website, reaching out to you directly, or one of your colleagues?
The best way is to call me. Yeah, okay. Brad Isaacson. So you can find my contact information on the website, or certainly, Mark, I'm sure you provide a link. So,
will do. Absolutely. Well, once again, Brad, thank you so much for your time. Truly appreciate it.
Mark, thank you. Appreciate it.
You've been listening to Beyond the Claim, a podcast for risk and claims leaders. To ensure you never miss an episode, please subscribe to the show in your favorite podcast player. If you use Apple Podcasts, we'd love for you to give us a quick rating for the show. Just tap the number of stars that you think the podcast deserves. Until next time, stay curious and keep innovating.